Hare Krishna. Nice to see everybody. So I'm I'm trying to do this thing tonight from the tablet. So Jagat, you're there, and Reed, you're there. Can you guys hear okay?
Yeah, we can hear all right. It's a little muffled though.
What's that?
It sounds pretty good.
I can't hear you.
It sounds
is
good.
it loud enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. I'm going to try to record this thing. We're kind of, I'm trying a few different things, so we'll see. Gora Graganya Gana Go to Goloruhara Goranga Guritama Gopyara Kopa Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satutam Namami Dhamma Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachi Adile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangira Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se hoya mara prana re Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yeshaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bhidana Padama Pumasa Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kuryat Kripaya Jadi Sadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Vishayustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Pahimam Vanchakalpa Durubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, just checking. Brinda Sundari, Gorni type, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, we're going to try this today. It's a little funny what we're trying anyway. So, we're still on this 12th verse of the Mangalacharna prayers, which I'll go ahead and paste into our chat. No? Janulambuto bujo kanakavadato sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksho vishvambaro dvijavaro yugadharma palo vande jagat priyakaro karuna avataro. Let's see. Jagat, would you like to read the translation, please? You can see your smiling face maybe also. You're live?
Hare Krishna? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I worship.
I worship their lordships, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, whose long arms extend down to their knees, whose beautiful complexions are radiant yellow like molten gold, and whose elongated eyes are like red lotuses. They are the topmost brahmanas, the guardians of religious principles for this age, the most munificent benefactors of all living entities, and the most compassionate incarnations of Godhead. They initiated the congregational chanting of the names of Lord Krishna.
Okay. I've got a little problem here. I can't hear anybody hardly. I'm not sure what to do. Okay, there's a few different options I think we can do and try. Anyway, right now, as long as you can hear me, that should be sufficient. So today, we want to try to speak about these two phrases, Jagat Priyakarau and Karuna Avatarau. How Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gaura Nityananda Prabhu, how they're the benefactors of the entire universe. They're bringing unlimited good fortune to everyone. Jagat means a universe. Priya means out of kindness. Karo, they're giving this Priya Karo, giving this very munificent kindness. So this is Vishvambaro. He's the personality who's maintaining the entire universe. We also want to speak a little something tonight, if we can, about Karuna Avatarau, how he's the most munificent incarnation of Godhead. And I picked out a couple songs for us to sing in that regard. You can go ahead and do that. This first, everybody has our songs that we pasted in our group. Gorny type of, I think you don't. Let's see here. I can share the screen.
Can someone help me to join me to the WhatsApp group? Because then
You should be able to see it now, right?
yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Jaya Nityananda Roy. Jaya Jaya Nityananda Roy. Apurada Papa Motahara Nahika or Udara Nija Karunaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Nityananda Roy. He's saying all glories to Nityananda Roy. And in case of that you're not convinced enough about that, he says Jaya Jaya. All glories to Nityananda Roy. And he's praying to the Lord that aparada papamor, all my offenses, tahara nahiko ar. You please don't consider my offenses, my aparad or my pap, my sins. Rather, udaraha nija karunaya. Give me your mercy and deliver me. Jaya Jaya Nityananda Roy. Amara Satamati Tomara Namai Mahirati. Amara Satamati Tomara Nami Nairati. Kahite Navasi Muke Raja. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Janame Janame Kata Kariyachi Atmagata Ata Eve Se Molaiki Kaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Jaya Nityananda. Very nice song. Amara Asatamati Tomara Nami Nahi Rati. He said that my mind is so stupid. Asatamati, it's just all over the place. Tomara Nami Nahi Rati. I don't have any attraction to your holy names, because the author of the song, he's thinking, there's no name given for this song, just Krishna Das, which is a general term for a lot of Vaishnavas use, and they don't want to use their name. So anyway, he's saying, okay, I know when I'm asking for mercy, you're going to say the mercy's there in the holy name, right? That's what all the devotees tell you. When you go to some devotee and tell them, Prabhu, I'm having a really bad day. What should they all say? You got to chant your japa. You got to be in kirtan. You take shelter of the holy name. So the author of the song says, Amara Asatamati. Tomara Nami Nahirati. My mind is just all over the place. I have no attraction for your holy name. I'm so very, very bad. Kahite na bhasi mukhi laj. It says that I'm feeling very, very shy. Shame is filling my mouth. Kahi na bhasi mukhi laj. Laj means shyness. I'm so shameful. I can't even speak about my situation. Janame kata. In so many births after birth, kata means counting numbers. Koriyachi atmagata. I'm just, atmagata means suicide. Atmagata means that I'm killing myself. I'm killing any opportunity to make spiritual advancement. Ata ebe semora ekaj. Ebe means now. This is now. In the word kaj, the translator here gives it as a state, but kaj means a situation, or it's like kabur. Kabur in Bengali means the news. This is a situation. This is my news about myself. This is the kabur about me. Tumi o Karuna Sindhu Pataki Janara Bandhu Evara Koro Jaricha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Patita Pavana Nam Nirmala Se Anupam Sahatela Dahi Bodha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So perhaps Nityananda Prabhu then says, well, okay, if you don't want to take shelter of the holy name, if you have no attraction for the holy name, then what can I do for you? And he says, no, I know who you are. Tumi e Karuna Sindhu. It's interesting, he uses the phrase Tumi. Tumi is something you say to an equal. It's a kind of an intimate way. Like in modern English, you might say, yo, dude. You probably wouldn't say that to your father or to a university professor. So apni means yes, sir. You would say apni ek o Karuna Sindhu. Oh, my dear Lord. Apni meaning Lord, or apni meaning sir, a big person. But here he's saying to me, o Karuna Sindhu. In other words, that you're so merciful. I feel very comfortable with you. To me, o Karuna Sindhu. Pataki janara bandhu. You're the bandhu, you're the friend of all those janas, those persons who are patakis, who are great sinners. You're the ocean of mercy, Karuna Sindhu. And he says, E bharo koroho jadi chag. Chag means to give up. If now you give me up, then what can we say about you? Everybody addresses, everybody says Patita Pavana Nitai. That phrase, Patita Pavana Nam, Nirmala se Anupam, in which your reputation is Anupam, it's very glorious, and it's Nirmala, there's no stain on that reputation. But Tahate Lagai Bododad, it's just Bododad, it's just a big trick. Everyone calling you Petit Pav and Nitai. Unless you save me, it has no meaning. You're not really Petit Pavan at all. And let me see. Am I still connected? Gornitai, you can hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Strange things
Yeah.
going on. Pura beja bana adi koto koto apuradi kada icha sunyachi kare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Krishna Dasha Anumani, Kalite Nari Bebumi, Jari Grina Nakuro Himani. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Purabe Jabana Adi, Koto Koto Aparadi. Koto Koto Aparadi. We can't even count. Koto Koto means there's so many. If you go to buy something in West Bengal, and you may say Kete Dam or Koto Dam. Koto here means how much. Dam means the price. So Koto Koto, I mean, I can't, how many? Purabe, previously Jabana Adi, all these Yavanas, the personalities beginning with the Yavanas, meaning very sinful personalities, and Aparadis, offenders. How many of these persons, out of your kindness, Tara Icha Suniyachi Khan, have you delivered all these persons just by your Icha, by your desire? He says, but Krishna Dasa Anumani, Telite Naribe Bhumi. Krishna Das, the author of the song, I'm thinking like this, that Jadi Grina Nakoroho Mani, if you don't hate me, Taliti Narebi Bhumi, then please, Jadi Grina Nakoroho Mani, please don't push me away. So this is the mercy of Sri Sri Gauranitai. They're so very, very kind. We can't even conceive of it. And in a beautiful way, he's describing this song. Our favorite line, something we printed in the back of our magazine about Petit Pav and Jagannath. Tumi o Karuna Sindhu Pataki Janara Bandhu Ebara Koroho Jadi Chad Patita Pavana Nam Nirmala Sayanu Pam Tahite Lagai Bododad. You're the ocean of mercy, the friend of the sinners. You're known as Petit Pavan, but if you don't save me, then your reputation as being Petit Pavan is overrated. It's not really genuine. There's another song that we often sing. I think a lot of you have heard this, especially Jagat, and most of you have heard this. Who's on here tonight? Let's see, Jagat, Bindasundari, Ronnie Tai, Krishna Kun, Natalia. Hi, Krishna, nice to see everybody. So I'll show you another song, because we're speaking about the mercy of Gaura Nitai. And when we think about the mercy of Mahaprabhu, we always think about this particular song, Gaura Karuna Koro. Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jani Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hina Jani Nosuno Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvani. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this verse today that we're reading from, we're hearing how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Jagat Priyakarau. He's the deliverer, the personality who's giving mercy, Karunaika Sindhu, the ocean of mercy, Karuna Avatarau. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, you're giving so much mercy. So we think of this song where the author, which is accredited to Narottam Das Thakur, but we're almost certain it's not written by him. But he begins by singing about his own lack, his own faults. Gauranga Karuna Pura, my dear Lord, please be merciful to me. Why? Because you're Dina Hina Jani. You're very kind to those personalities who are Dina and Hina, who are very low and who don't have anything. And he says, amongst all of them, Mosamo, Patita Prabhu, Nahi Tribhuvan. You won't find anybody in all the three worlds who's as fallen as myself. So, as we often comment about this song, if you're going for a job interview, you don't go in and tell them that if they ask you, what is your qualification? You tell them, well, to be honest with you, I'm the most useless person in all the three worlds. But because that's the nature of the material world, you have to push yourself forward. You have to be positive and talk about all your great qualities. But in spiritual life, it's just the opposite of that. That the lower someone feels themselves to be, it actually means the higher they are. So then the Lord goes on to describe Dante Trina Dori Dora Laki He Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 He says, Dante Trinadori Go, Daki He Tuma. Daki, there's a phrase in Bengali, you say Dak Nam. Dak Nam means your kind of village name. It means, Dak means to call out or to say. It's the common name that we use for you. And he's saying that Dante Trinadori Go, I am calling out your name with straw in my teeth, meaning that this is something from my heart, and meaning that I'm doing this in abject humility. We were just singing this song this morning for Tota Gopinath, but I thought it's an appropriate song we should sing again tonight. Because when we come before someone, if we put straw in our teeth, then it means we're a great offender. Just like Brinda Sundari, she has 2 children, and I'm sure she can tell you, if she hears them screaming and crying, and you know from the sound of their screams and cries that one of them punched the other one or pinched them or stole their toy or something like that. And then you go running in to see what happened. And one of them's crying, so you can figure out probably this is the one who was offended and the other one looks angry or something. And you say, what did you do? And then the one says, no, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything, because that's the nature of children. They're always trying to get out of their trouble. Isn't it? Am I correct, Brenda Sundari? No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. And adults are like that also. No, it really wasn't my fault. You know, somebody who put the deities to rest and somebody forgot to turn the light off. So you say, who did that? No, I turned the light off. It wasn't me. And people give some excuse. Somebody else must have turned on the wrong switch. You know, it definitely wasn't me. So when you say Dante Trina, that I'm holding grass between my teeth, it means that I accept my punishment. It'd be great if children would do that. I accept my punishment. I have no argument. I'm just here to accept it. And maybe they do that sometimes. I don't know. Linda Sundar, maybe your children are very saintly, but most children, they generally don't do that. But if we want the mercy of the Lord, even if we want the mercy of some angry person, my mother remarried when I was like, I don't know, 12 years old or something. And my stepfather, who I loved very, very much, and was someone who really helped me so much in my life. It was very difficult for me initially because he was a staff sergeant in the Air Force, and he was a very angry, very heavy person. And I wasn't used to that. But I learned with him very quickly not to argue with him and to just put grass in my teeth and just accept. Even sometimes maybe he was wrong. And he would say something like, why did you take this thing? And it wasn't me that did it. It was my brother that did it. But I don't argue about it. And then when they come to find out that they were wrong and they chastise you in the wrong way, an amazing thing happens. You own that person. You control that person. And a child who's wise will learn that. Sometimes a parent is a very angry parent, or sometimes a mother or father. Then maybe they're gentle, but they get in a bad mood or something. And then the child learns that, oh, if I just accept it, even though I'm actually right and they're wrong, if I just accept it, then it's kind of like doing judo or something. The roles become reversed and they become very, very humble. And by the end of our relationship with my stepfather, before he became a devotee, he passed away some years ago. He became so humble and so sweet with me. You can't believe. In fact, he got to the point, at one point, he came to me and said, you know, Madhavananda, he started calling me, he said, I think in my last life, you were my mother. He was speaking like that to me. So I learned that art, that if you just accept it. So here the poet is saying, Dante Trinidori Go, Daki He Toma, that if I just accept my situation, I don't try to give any excuses. I'm coming before you, and in that mood, Daki He Toma, I'm calling out your name. Again, the same kind of phrase, Toma or Tumi means to you, Toma means your, but it's in a very friendly kind of way. It's not like Apni or Apnar, which would be a respectful form of address, like my dear sir. And then he goes on to say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then perhaps Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him, okay, you're being really humble. You're not arguing back. You've got straw in your teeth. You're calling out in such a humble mood. What do you want? Pripakori Esha Ama, Hridaya Mandiri. I want that you come and live in my heart. You make my heart into a temple. Everybody in ISKCON wants to make a temple. And however many, if you manage to make one temple, you're a great personality. If you've made 2 temples, my God, you're very special. If you've made 4 or 5 temples, like Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I think there's about 6 temples in the Delhi area, then you're going to go down in the history books. You're a great Mahatma. So he's saying, though, that I want my heart to be a temple. How many devotees think about that? We want to make something out of bricks and mortar, but how many of us want to make our heart into a temple? And why do you want to make your heart into a temple? Because I want you to be with me, to render service to you, or just that I want you to give me some mercy, but I want to be with you always. And that's the mercy that I'm asking from you. He goes on the next line. Jadi doya na koribe patita dekiya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The word jadi in Bengali means, we would generally spell it with a Y, but jadi, they pronounce it like ja, like they pronounce Jamuna. We would write it with a Y generally, they pronounce it ja. Jadi doya na koribe. Maybe you don't want to, koribe means to do. You don't want to give your doya. Jadi means if, or maybe. Maybe you don't want to give me your mercy because patita dekiya, you see how fallen I am. And this is why so many of us don't want to admit how fallen we are. because we're afraid. If I tell everybody the truth, then ain't nobody going to be here next Wednesday. If I tell all of you the truth about my situation, then you're all going to reject me, definitely. So the author of the song is feeling that, my dear Lord, maybe when you're hearing, I'm telling you that Mosamo Patita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvani, and all the three worlds is no one has fallen as myself, then maybe you're going to say, well, then why should I give you mercy? There's so many more persons who are much, much more elevated than you. There's so many guru coolies who've grown up in the movement in a very, very pure way. There's so many exalted devotees and sannyasis who've done so many things. Why should I save you? I've got so many people who are standing in queue and wanting mercy from me. So then the author of the song, in a very similar way to this previous song we were singing, he describes, Patita Pavana Nama Kishira Lagiya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. He says that everybody addresses you as Patita Pavan, Patita Pavana Nama. You have this name. But Kisha Lagia, it's a lie. It's not true. We're going to have to change your name. You're not really Patit Pavan if you're not going to save me, because Mosamo Patita Prabhu, Nahi Tribhuvani, in all the three worlds is no one as fallen as myself. So if you don't save me, then how are you Patit Pavan? It's just a lie. As the author of the previous song sang the Nityananda Prabhu. So if you really want to become famous, then you should save me. And then everybody will say, wow, yeah, he saved that rascal Madhavananda. He must be pretty good. So then perhaps Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells the author of the song, okay, all right, I'll give you some mercy, but you have to stand in the queue. And you look at the queue, and there's a queue. It goes all the way from Ypsilanti to Mayapur. It's like a long queue. And the author of the song says, I can't do this. You don't understand. I can't deal with this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. After the song says, I can't wait in a line. I'm drowning. I'm dying. Tufani, Hare Krishna, am I back again? Yeah, my connection's going back and forth. Thank you for letting me know. I'm drowning. Tufan means a hurricane or something very fast. There's the Tufan Express. It's a train that goes between Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan. And we used to say that Tufan means no fun because it's a very slow train. It's a terrible train. So he's saying, the author of the song, Podichi Bhava Tufani Nahi Kanishtar. I'm drowning. I'm in the middle of the ocean, but it's not just in the middle of the ocean, but there's a great cyclone going on. There's a terrible hurricane going on. And Nahi Kanishtar, there's no one who's going to save me. I can't call out for the government to come and send a helicopter for me. There's no Mighty Mouse. There's no Superman. There's no one who's going to come and deliver me. Your lotus feet are the only thing that I have. Charana Charani Dane Dase Koro. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the only boat that's going to help me, the only thing that I want, the only dana, the only charity that I'm asking for, the only thing I'm asking for is Sri Charana Tarani. You give me your lotus feet. They're a tarni, they're a boat by which I can cross over the ocean of birth and death. But on that boat, the dasas, the servants are there. So then perhaps the author of the song, who is written Narottam Das Thakur, and just by the way, if you feel offended by that because you're a university student and you went and you heard something about plagiarism and your professor threatened you a whole bunch of times, don't feel so bad about it. It's a different culture. And in this Vaishnava Vedic culture, not just Vaishnava culture, but Vedic culture, it's a very common thing for people to take an idea or a mood from another Vaishnava and to give credit to that other person because they feel like it doesn't really belong to me. And in this culture, that's considered to be high class. So although we have a critical edition of all the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, done by the University of Kolkata in Bengali some years ago, and this particular song doesn't appear in that collection. And based on that, I think that the song is not by Narottam Das Thakur because it is such a nice song, isn't it? Such a nice song. How could it not be included in the songbook of Narottam Das Thakur if it was actually written by him? But probably it was written by someone else. But he's feeling like, I've taken your feelings, I've taken your mood, and therefore I'm signing this with your name, dear Narottam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So perhaps then he says, you can get on the boat, but who can get on the boat? In the previous line, he describes that dase koro par, that your servants, dase koro means to do and par means to cross over. Your servants, they can cross over. So indirectly, perhaps he's saying that my servants can get on the boat. So where's your ticket? And the author of the song says, I have a good ticket. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasar Anudas. I'm not your servant, but I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of your servant. And that's my qualification. Pratana koro ye sada narottama dasa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the author of the song gives this final stanza, this two lines, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasar Anudas, Pratana Koroye Sada Narottam Das. This is a signature of Narottam Das Thakur. You'll find this in a number of songs like Radha Krishna Pranamore. He finishes that song with this stanza. And the author of the song, he's giving it like that because this really belongs to Narottam Das Thakur. But also perhaps he's indicating his own mood. And we could look at this in another way. That prarthana means that I'm opening up my heart. And I'm pulling forth the feelings, the deep inner feelings of my heart. And how often am I doing that? Koroye sada. Sada means constantly, always. I'm never going to stop doing this. And he signs Narottam Das. Now this could be Narottam Das Thakur, or it could be that person who's Narottam Das, Uttam means the best, and Nara means personalities. So Narottam Das Thakur means that personality who's a servant of all those great persons. And the author of the song, perhaps he's signing here also that I'm the Nara Uttam Das. I'm a servant of all those great personalities. And in this way, he's giving us some indication, some idea how we can get that mercy from the Lord. So we're speaking today, again, about this verse, this first verse from Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat. And this is, I don't know, our, gosh, 15th session or something on this verse. We've been breaking up each word down. How the Lord is Jagat Priyakarau, how Gornitai, and again, in grammar, in Bengali, in Sanskrit grammar, it indicates dual. So Jagat Priyakarau indicates two persons. Yugadharma Palo indicates two persons. Dvijavaro indicates two persons. Vishvam Baro indicates two persons. Sankirtanaika Pitaro indicates two persons. Karuna Avatarau indicates two persons. So although Nityananda Prabhu is not directly mentioned in the verse, all the translators and commentators explain, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains in his commentary on this verse, that it means Nitai and Gaur together. So these two personalities are Jagat Priyakarau. They're the benefactors of the entire universe, because they're Karuna Avatarau. They're the most munificent incarnations of the Lord. So how is it that they're the most munificent incarnations? We should understand something about this. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is addressed by Raghunath Das Goswami in the 10th verse of his Govardhan Basa Prarthana Dasakam, a verse that we recite every day here in our ashram. And I think Jagat knows this verse very well, and some of the other devotees. Nirupadi Karunena Shri Satchinandanena Twai Kapati Satopi Twat Priyanarpitos Smiti Kalumama Yogya Yogyatam Mamagrinam Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. So he speaks about the Karuna of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How is it that Gaura Nitai are Jagat Priyakarau, Karuna Avatarau, the incarnations are the most merciful incarnations? And how is it that Jagat Priyakarau, they're giving mercy to the whole universe? Because their Karuna, their mercy is Nirupadika Karuna. It has no designation. It's not that just like sometimes we have different upadis, different designations. So one common designation we all have is we're the son or daughter of someone. But along with that upadi, along with that designation, comes certain rules or certain demands from that person. And in that sense, upadis indicate a kind of violence. As it is a common saying in America amongst cranky old fathers, that I brought you into this world and I can take you out, right? You're my son. I brought you into this world. I can take you out of this world. I have that right. Because you're my son, I identify you as my son, then I have this upadi, this designation on you. And it indicates some kind of violence. I often tell the story about one friend of ours. I won't mention her name, but I don't think any of you know she's on the East Coast. But her father came from Egypt, and they came from a high-class military family. Her father's brother, her uncle, was the chief general in the army at one point in Egypt. And so he's a big man. He came to America to make money, and he did really good. He got 2 PhDs, I think one from like Harvard and another from Yale, big universities. And he started his own business, and he became very, very rich. And then one day his wife came to him with some happy news that, my dear husband, I'm pregnant. Oh, that's so good. And immediately he started calculating. My son one day is going to become the president of the United States of America. And then to his surprise, he didn't have a son, he had a daughter. Okay, he managed to get over that disappointment. And he decided then that my daughter is going to become the first lady president of the United States of America. And she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. And they bought her all the nicest toys. They gave her private schooling and nicest Waldorf schools and whatever. They gave her the best education. And as soon as she's ready to go to the university, he bought a car for her and everything. And then one day, she came home and she had a book in her hand. And she said, "Hey, Dad, I met these really nice people at school today, and they gave me this book, Bhagavad Gita." And a little later, she started reading the book, and she came back to her father and said, "Dad, I want to become a Hare Krishna devotee." And she told me that at that point, her father, who loved her so much and who wanted her to be the first woman president of the United States of America, at that point, he said, "You're not my daughter anymore. I hate you. I reject you." So that's upadis. We may have some affection for someone, but our affection for someone is always based upon some upadi, some designation. And this is one reason why the love of the Braj Gopikas is considered to be superior to the love of the Mahishis or the queens of Dwarka, because they have some upadi. They have this patitva, this conception that Krishna is their husband. And so then there's some motivation for the love. It's so padika priti. It has some motivation, but the gopis' love is nirupadika priti. It has no motivation. And this is the mercy, the karuna of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's nirupadika karuna. I used to see devotees, and we would go out for book distribution sometimes. I see some brahmacharis, they would only approach young girls. And I would tell them, "Prabhu, what are you doing? It's probably not a very good idea. You're a brahmachari." And they say, "Prabhu, they're so much easier to talk to, and that's a fact. But that means then, maybe it's a fact for you, but that means that your karuna, the mercy that you're trying to channel, is so padika karuna. It has some motivation. You're picking out a certain person. Certain people, they become politicians and they like certain kinds of people. And they say, if you're from south of the border, then you're probably a criminal or something. And we don't want you. We don't like you here in this country. So we have some mercy, we have some affection for people, but only if you have a certain color of skin, only if you gone through the border in the proper way or whatever. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mercy. He's Jagat Priyakarau. He's Karuna Avatarau. Shri Shri Gauni Tai, they're delivering the universe. They're the most merciful avatars because their mercy is nirupadika karuna. It has no designation. And so Raghunath Das Goswami is appealing to Giriraj in this way. He says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose mercy is nirupadika karuna, I'm a pretender, but Priyanarpito Shmi, he gave me to you. So iti kalu mama yogya yogyatam. Don't consider my yogyata or ayogyata. Yoga means to connect with, right? So yogyata here means qualification. My qualification or ayogyata, my disqualification. Don't think about that. But rather, Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam, grant me residence near you, or as we often comment on this, as Baladi Vidyabhushan comments in his explanation of these verses, Atva, depending on how you do the Sandhi in this verse, it has two different meanings. It can mean give me residence, or it can mean the quality. Either give me residence near you, Giriraj, or give me the quality that you have. And this is a mood of our Goswamis. In all their prayers, they address Giriraj Govardhan as a devotee. I've been reading Mr. Haberman. I can't remember his first name. Maybe somebody recalls. There's a scholar named something Haberman, wrote a book about sacred rocks, about Giriraj Govardhan. And a nice book. It's written from a pretty scholarly point of view, and he can't. But anyway, he actually quotes my Guru Maharaj at one point in the book. He didn't meet my Guru Maharaj. His conception of what my Guru Maharaj had to say came from a little booklet that one of my godbrothers printed. And my Guru Maharaj in their booklet is saying that we should worship Giriraj as a devotee. But my Guru Maharaj doesn't explain why. And he comments in this, I think it's in the 4th chapter of his book, he says that there's different conceptions of Giriraj, and this one person, this Gaur Govinda Swami, has this conception, but I haven't seen anybody else with that conception. Well, excuse me, there's so many people with that conception. Our 6 Goswamis and all their prayers have that conception, but it's a very, very subtle, deep conception. And he mostly sticks to, that everybody sees Giriraj as Krishna. And he is Krishna, but he's like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Krishna, but he's primarily a devotee. He's Bhakta Rup. He's come in the mood of a devotee. And therefore the gopis, when they pray to Giriraj, they address him as Haridasa Varya, or the greatest of devotees. So anyway, interesting thing that he didn't appreciate my Guru Maharaj's conception because it wasn't presented in a complete way. Therefore, little commercial break here. We made this magazine about Giriraj. Based on this conception, we want to show what is my Guru Maharaj saying, and practically every article unpacks how Giriraj is a devotee, how we can see that in so many different ways, and how we can reconcile the fact that sometimes our acharyas have said that Giriraj is Krishna and that we should worship him as Krishna, but then other times our Goswamis are saying this other thing, and we become confused. How do we reconcile both of these things? So we should understand this is the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. They're Jagat Priyakarau, the Karuna Avatarau. They're the most magnificent incarnations because of delivering the whole universe. In Adi Lila chapter 7, highly recommended chapter to read through. Srila Prabhupada actually printed this chapter as a separate book. In the early, before this volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita came out, they printed this particular chapter, Adi Lila chapter 7, which speaks all about the preaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva. And there's a very famous, wonderful verse, text 23 in that chapter, which describes the nature and mood of their preaching. Patra patra vichar nahi nahi stana stana Jai jana pai tana kore prema dhana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. That when they distribute Krishna Prem, patra apatra, patra means a pot. They didn't consider what is a proper container, a proper recipient. Pot means also a person who's a recipient, who's a proper recipient, who's not a proper recipient. Vichar nahi, vichar means consideration. They didn't even consider that at all. Nahi, stan. They didn't consider whether we should preach in Hungary, or Denver, Colorado, and this place or that place. My God, these people are Czech Republic. They're like the worst people in the universe. They didn't consider those kind of things. Nahi stanistan, jay janapai tani kari premadan. They just gave this love to everyone. Now, how is that? A few verses later, it's described Uchalila prema banya. Banya means a flood. There was a great flood. So just as, I don't know if some of you may have seen the lecture, the video that we made last night for the Kirtan Academy in Mayapur, which I'm going to redo. I'm actually going to expand upon it quite a bit too. He asked me, he was complaining that volume was too low and a few things, so I'm going to redo it, but I'm going to also expand upon it. But as we were commenting there, these two words, udgara and udgirna, they're synonyms of each other. They both mean to vomit, or they both mean to explode. This is the nature of the Panchatattva. It's a banya, it's a flood. It's just an explosion of love of God. There's no mental calculation, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they're Jagat Priyakarau, Karuna Avatarau, because they're coming in the mood of Radharani and the gopis. So I'm going to paste in a little something from my Guru Marsh, from chapter 4 of Embankment of Separation. And let's see, I can't paste the whole thing. There we go. And let's see, Leela Purushottam, would you like to read? Krishna Leela.
Yes, I'll just open the chat. Krishna Lila is Gaura Lila, Gaura Lila is Krishna Lila. There is no difference between Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila, just as there is oh, what's that. Shall I continue?
No. I made a mistake. Okay, go ahead.
Shall I read it whole again?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I'm sorry, because we've got a couple of devotees here, and I don't know why I'm struggling with this iPad. The volume, I can't hear anything on it. It's really disappointing to me, and I'm not sure. I think I'll maybe switch back to the computer at the end. I don't know. This is all confusing for me. Anyway, he says that Krishna Lila is Gaura Lila is Krishna Lila. There's no difference between the two, just like there's no difference between Nam and Nami. Nam is Krishna, and Nami is Krishna himself, and Nam is the name of Krishna. But Rupa Goswami, in his Krishna Namastakam, he said, Purvasmat Parameva Hanta Karunam, Tatrapi Janinahi. He says that although there's no difference between Nam and Nami, of the former and latter, the latter is more merciful. So that means that Nam is more merciful. Similarly, there's no difference between Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila, but Gaura Lila is a more merciful Lila. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is more merciful. I'm going to try to open up another second Zoom thing here again. Let's see.
Recording in progress.
And I'm muted also. It's not gonna work. So he says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Udarja Moya Leela. Udarja means magnanimous or kindness. And Gaura Leela is more merciful than Krishna Leela. And why is that? He says, because Krishna in the form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu has manifested the Leela of searching for Krishna. That's the most astounding characteristic of Gaura Leela. He's searching for himself. And he's manifested that Leela in Purushottam Ketra, Jagannath Puri Dham. In his Ancha Leela, he's manifested that Mahabhav. Therefore, he's become Mahavadanya, the most munificent incarnation who's giving that Krishna Prem, which nobody gives. That Krishna Prem is most secret, most confidential, and Krishna stole it from the inner chambers of Radharani's heart. It was tightly locked inside so many boxes, a box, inside a box, inside a box, inside another box, another box, another box, all tightly locked inside the innermost chamber. But now this most munificent incarnation, Goda Hari, has broken open all the locks and is freely distributing this Krishna Prem to one and all. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. When we say that they're Jagat Priyakarau, that they're the most munificent, they're giving mercy to the whole universe, they're Karuna Avatarau, they're the most munificent incarnations of the Lord, it's because he's come in the mood of Radharani. And as I often comment in this regard, this is why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they forbid their followers from putting a peacock feather on the deity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, as we know, not to be controversial, but Srila Prabhupada instructed Malati to do that on at least one occasion, and Janani Vaskavu to do that. And it's become a standard within ISKCON. No problem, whatever. But we should have some conception why we do what we do. And there's a reason why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and others forbade them from doing that. Because when they're in the mood of a devotee, they're giving more mercy. Then he's Mahavabhinyaya Avatar. And also he's relishing something in that mood that he doesn't relish when you put a peacock feather, a flute in his hand and say, hey, you know, actually you're Krishna. Oh, that's right, I forgot. I was in the mood of being a devotee. Now I have to come down from being a devotee and I have to be Bhagavan again. I have to check into the office and do some. So Srila Prabhupada comments in Nectar Devotion. Instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotees offer obeisances to his compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. And therefore, Rupa Goswami in the 4th chapter of Ujjwal Nilamani, he describes Radha as Atta Karuna Purna. Radharani is Karuna Purna. She's that personality whose Karuna, whose mercy is complete and is full. And because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are coming in that mood of Radharani, then Nirupadi Karuna, their Karuna, their mercy has no upadis. They're in the mood of Radharani. It's the most munificent because he's come in the mood of a devotee. Krishna, when he comes, he makes rules. He said, okay, this is the way it goes. I'm the temple president here.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hare, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hare, Nitai Gauranga, Hey, Nitai Gauranga.
Okay, so here's the scoop. Now I'm no longer, I don't look as beautiful as I used to because we changed it to the Mac. We lost the iPad. All right, but my voice should probably be a lot louder, I think. Okay, let's pin myself up here. So I was right in the middle of a story. And there was this married couple. And as married couples often do, they have some quarrels sometimes. And so as oftentimes devotee couples decide, well, we'll go on pilgrimage and we'll work out all of our quarrels in that way. And so they went to Braj, they went to Barsana, and they got in a really, really big fight. And the wife just walked away from him. And he started crying and crying. Thank you, Gauri Thai Prabhu. And at that point, he couldn't find her, and he became like a madman, and he started running all over Barsana, calling out for the name of his wife. Now, what was the name of his wife? His wife's name happened to be Kishori, and Kishori happens to be a name for Radha. And so he's going around, Kishori, 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 and crying and crying. And Srimati Radharani, she's so merciful. She's Purna Karuna, as Rupa Goswami says in Ujjwal Nilamani. She's full of mercy, full of compassion. She heard someone crying and calling out her name. That's one of her names. So she told Lalita, you go and find out and bring this person to me. And Lalita went and checked it out, and she came back and said, no, he's not calling for you. He's calling for some bag of stool that has some hair on top of it and some skin and like that. Nasty thing, nasty person. And Radharani said, I don't care. He's calling out my name and crying, you bring him to me. So that's Nirupadi Karuna. That's mercy with no designation. That's mercy with, that's causeless mercy. And this is Jagat Priyakarau, how Gaurnitai, they're delivering the whole universe. How Gaurnitai are Karuna Avatarau. They're the most magnificent personalities. So this comes because they're in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And therefore, as we comment sometimes in Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami, he says that actually Krishna doesn't give mercy. He says because mercy only comes when you see someone suffering and it makes you feel really sad. But Krishna, he says, Tasya Sutada Paramanandaika, Rasat Vena Pahata. Krishna, he's relishing supreme bliss, Paramanandaika. He's always so happy. So how is it? There's no unhappiness that can touch him. Teja Malinas, Timira Yogavat, touch Chetasya Api, Tamo Maya Duk, Sparshana Sambhavena. He says this in Bhakti Sandarbha. That this Duk, it can't even, sparsha means to touch, it can't even touch his heart. Just like darkness can't touch the sun. But then if you say that Krishna is not merciful, we say, hey, Krishna Karuna Sindhu, then how are we saying, we're addressing Krishna as an ocean of mercy? We should know, what is the ocean of mercy? The ocean of mercy is the devotees. The ocean of mercy is Srimati Radharani. And therefore, Krishna himself says in the Narada Purana, that, Bhavishota Purana, he says that Vina Radha Prasadena Krishna Praptina Jayate. That if you want me, if you Krishna Praptina, you can't get me, Vina Radha Prasadina, without the mercy of Radha. It's not possible to get Krishna without the mercy of Radha. Radharani is a personification of Krishna's mercy. But generally, Krishna controls that Karuna Shakti with his Icha Shakti. My Guru Maharaj explained this in one lecture. The Icha Shakti means his desire potency. And that Karuna Shakti, by which he gives mercy, he controls it because he sees they're not qualified. And they have to have some qualification. Therefore, Yegatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. He says, as you approach me, I'll reciprocate accordingly. But when Krishna came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then there was no more designation. There's no more limits to that mercy. It became a flood because that Karuna Shakti was no longer limited by the Icha Shakti. And the Karuna Shakti could freely give mercy everywhere. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Mahadvadanyaya Avatar. And therefore, Sri Sri Gaunitai are Jagat Priyakarau and Karuna Avatarau. They're delivering the whole universe. They're the most munificent of all persons. So I want to stop there. I'm sorry we had some internet connection problems tonight and different things. If anybody has any reflections or comments or anything, we'll go ahead and we'll take the important persons first who have responsible jobs, like Brinda Sundari. Let's see. She's a temple president, so she has to go to her service soon. You want to unmute yourself? Do you have any reflections you want to share tonight, Brinda Sundari? Our night, your morning?
Yeah, actually, I have a question. Why is it that the author of this song is asking the Lord not to judge him by his upadis and not to, not to withhold mercy when the Lord doesn't do that necessarily?
Well, just in case he does that. Right? I mean, you're a mother, you have 2 children. You're in charge of a lot of devotees. Who do you give mercy to first? Someone who's been bad or someone who's been good? We give mercy to the persons who've been good, right? It's just the natural thing. And Jiva Goswami comments on this in, I think it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the Gita, when Krishna says, Samuham sarva bhuteshu name dveshasti na priya, that I'm equal to everyone. He says, how can you say that? Look, he's giving more mercy to the devotees. And he gives a wonderful example. He said he's just like a parent who has 2 children, and one of them is breaking the law and doing all bad things. And the father may raise his hand to slap him. He may chastise him and punish him. And the other son who's been good, he praises him. And he may give him more money and this and that. So how can you say the father is being equal to both? And actually, it doesn't look like it, but in actuality, he is. Because the father has equal love for both of the children, but he's reciprocating with them according to their behavior. And the child is behaving in a good way, he wants to encourage him and give him a carrot. And the child who's misbehaving, then he slaps him and chastises him. So the author of the song is thinking, maybe you're going to be like that also. I understand that's the way it works, right? So please don't be like, because I don't deserve, and there's going to be so many other people who are going to get mercy before me. But you should give mercy to me first. And this is the nature of Gaunitai. This is why Nityananda Prabhu grabbed Haridas Thakur one crazy day and said, hey, I've got an idea today. Instead of going to the airport to distribute books, let's go talk to these guys named Jagai and Madai. Because nobody appreciates, we've been saving all the high-class people. And everybody says, yeah, that's okay. They're all like, but let's go and deliver Jagai and Madai. Then everybody will appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Nitai's in that kind of mood. But in many ways, actually, Jagai and Madai, they're better than us. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami speaks like that in different places. They're better than us because when they got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they stopped their nonsense. But so many of us haven't stopped our nonsense. We're still having some little hope. We have some hope. It didn't work out this time. I suffered like anything in this relationship, but I have another hope that this relationship will be different. We have to become hopeless. And Jagai and Madai, they're hopeless. They're just completely taking shelter of Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu. And they've completely given up all their nonsense behavior. So they're better than me. I'm getting initiated. I'm getting so much mercy and things, but I'm not accepting it. So they're better than me. And we should really think like it. Mosamapatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvani. And all the three worlds, really there's no one has fallen. How can we think like that? We go out on the street and oh my God, sometimes we used to do book distribution at fairs. Now, if you've been to a fair, in America, and we used to travel and it would be, in the Midwest and different places. And and sometimes they're eating meat and you go to give them a book and you just hand them the book, even though they've got a hamburger in their hand. I remember the worst time though, there was a father who was carrying his little child and the child had diapers on. Been assumed to me know what's going to come next. And I went to give him the book and all of a sudden he noticed, oh my God. And he had a whole handful of stool from his little child. And oh God. And he wiped it off on a cloth. And then I was handing him the book. And I have to confess, I was hesitating to hand him the book because he had stool on his hand still. And I just kind of closed my eyes and he wiped it off and he reached out and took the book. So devotees, we should be like that. We should just be giving mercy even when the person's not qualified or anything. Is that okay, Bindu Sundari?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I like the point that Jagat and Madai, they didn't take it for granted. They didn't take the mercy for granted.
Yeah. And sometimes that's our problem. And we see that amongst devotees. Sometimes we have this attitude of entitlement. It's been really terrible in ISKCON. I've been reading some of the things from the ladies writing about the history of ISKCON and how the men would get all the paneer and the sabji before the ladies came because they would take the prasadam first. Or they would, sit close to the deity and things, and the ladies would have to sit in the back. And there's an attitude of entitlement. And it's not just with the men either. Sometimes the ladies also do. I'm a Prabhupada disciple, or I'm an initiated devotee, so I should get this. Sometimes children think like that too. I have a right. You're my mother. God created you. Your purpose in life is to do whatever I want and to give me whatever I want. That's an attitude of entitlement. And it's a kind of impersonalism. They don't actually see that their mother and father are people with feelings. And the only reason you exist is to buy sweets for me and fulfill my desires and do whatever I want. And that's in a child, but also as adults, we sometimes have that attitude of entitlement. And that doesn't go well with being a recipient of mercy.
Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Okay, let's see. Ujjwala Rasagya, are you alive? Are you there somewhere? I'm calling you next because you're the important persons. You're the only ones who have a job amongst us. Jagat has a job, but he makes his own hours, so we don't count him.
Hare Krishna, pranams to you, Prabhu, and to all the devotees here. Yeah. Prabhu, the point that struck me the most is how Upadi is his violence. Upadi is a means to execute violence. That stuck.
Did it hit a note with you? And did you think of your daughters? Sometimes you get angry because they're not behaving the way I want you to. You're supposed to please me, right? We have this attitude as a parent. It's a hard thing.
And it just doesn't stop there, Prabhu. In any interaction with anybody, by default, these upadhis surface, and then just say how you are so and so, and it's okay to be so and so with any interaction. That is something. Thank you. That's
why, if you study violence in the world, the largest form of violence is in the home, is domestic violence, and that's because of upadhis. Because the parent has these expectations that children are going to do whatever they tell them, and they don't, and they become violent with the children. Or the man marries a woman and he thinks that she's going to do the laundry every day and wash the dishes, and she'll never argue with me. She's going to cook all the time, and she's going to be my servant. Or the wife gets married and she thinks he's going to be a Prince Charming, and he's going to buy chocolates for me every day and bring me flowers and do whatever I want and things. These are upadis. These are expectations that
But
we
at
have.
the temple too,
and it
Prabhu.
causes- Yes,
At the temple
the
too.
temple
I
too.
mean, yeah, I'm just 1 week ahead
Yes.
of you, so I am. And at the
Yes.
workplace too, actually, any interaction, Prabhu, be it a devotee or not, any interaction anywhere, some kind of upadhi, you name it or not name it, that surface, that feeling surface, putting us up somewhere else. It's just not fair, but it's sad how it surfaces. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. It just happens
Yes,
everywhere with anyone, Prabhu.
and this is why children leave their parents. This is why people get divorced. This is why devotees leave the temple, why they leave the zone, why they have arguments with the temple leader. It's a big reason. It's not the only reason, of course. But when we treat people like you belong to me, I own you, and you're not a person, you're not an individual, you have to give up your children. Isn't it, Ujjwala Rasika? You have to learn at a certain point that your attitude is just going to have to be that I may not agree with you, and I don't, but I still love you. And that's unconditional love. I remember when I was, 14 or something, my mother once, she told me, she said, even if you go to prison, even if you kill someone, I'll always love you. That was my mother's unconditional love. And that's very, very touching. But the hardest thing is to let go of those upadis. And we have the same thing. I'm the temple president, I'm the bhakta leader, and I made you a devotee. I'm in charge here, and you're serving me, and it's all about me. And we're exploiting that person. And people feel very, very frustrated because that's not spiritual life. Real spiritual life means nirupadika karuna. It means there's no upadis in that mercy.
Such a liberation to have that Nirupadi thing, Prabhu. It's very painless to be in that stage, just that it is hard to get there, as you said, but for somehow or other, if we can be at that stage, it's a liberation. It's a painless thing, and that's good.
Yeah. I remember one of our friends in Hungary, actually, she's a little elderly. She was, maybe 70 something. And she told me she had children, grown children who were in their 50s. And her children were not devotees. She's a devotee. Her children are not devotees. And I asked her an honest question. I said, can you tell me frankly, do you still think about your kids every day? And she said, every day. I can't stop thinking about them. It's just always there in my mind. Very, very difficult thing to give up. And that's why, as devotees, we should cultivate relationships, devotional relationships, loving relationships based on hearing and chanting, that we can love each other in that way. But the hearing and chanting has to be without designation. Why is it that I'm friends probably with the majority of the sannyasi preachers in ISKCON? I'm in good friendly relationships with most of them. And I can tell you frankly that most of them, I've heard comments from them, they don't like to do programs in the temple, generally speaking. I mean, maybe Ypsilanti's may be an exception. The Bhakti Center may be an exception. Denver may be an exception. There's a few sweet places you can go to. But generally, they don't like to. But when they go places, they like to do home programs. Isn't it, Grani Tai Prabhu? Doing a home program is really, really sweet. But when you give a class in the temple, then everybody's looking at you, like this. And, you quoted the wrong verse. You said something that's not correct, and they're really heavy with you. And it's not so sweet. It's more sweet in the home. Why is that? Because it's a hoitaki. There's no reason for it. But in the temple, it's hoitaki. There's some motivation. If I don't go to Mangal Artik, they're not going to give me breakfast. I won't get prasadam. Everybody's going to criticize me and say bad things about me. So there's a motivation for going to the program, that I'll be popular with the devotees, that I'll get my prasadam, I'll get whatever. But when we do a home program, there's no motivation. It's just some free, sweet thing. So I like, as much as we can, I would as a suggestion for all of you, try to make programs like that as much as you can. It makes the devotee so much more blissful. And this is one thing I love about being in Jagannath Puri. We get so many devotees. I remember Gauni Prabhu, we had a group of devotees from Hungary. It was one of the first groups who came to Puri like 20 years ago when we started doing parikramas. And we have a system. We start off, why are you here? What do you want to get out of it? What are your hopes and things? And they said their different stuff. We came because we heard about you. We want to come and see Puri. We want to see Jagannath, da, da, da. And then we do our program. And then at the end, on the last day, we ask everybody, what was the best thing that you had? What was your best experience, the best darshan or whatever? What was the best thing? And how are you going to keep it? And I was shocked that almost every one of those devotees, there's about 15 devotees, Gauni Prabhu, they all started crying. Now, it's not surprising when Russian devotees cry. Russian devotees cry no matter what. That's just, they're sentimental people. But Hungarian devotees, they don't cry. That's just not part of their genes. You see Gauni Prabhu's face. They just don't do that. But they were crying. And they told me, said, we never did like this before. At that point, now things have changed in the yatra, but one of the comments they said was that the only time we could do bhajans was on a Sunday feast after the Sunday program. And otherwise, everything was completely regimented in a certain way, and it was all hoitaki. And for the first time, we were just taking people, and there's no box. There's no temple president. There's no, schedule like this and this. It's just Krishna Katha and Kirtan. And wow, and they just for the sake of doing it. And they felt so liberated. The nice thing. So let's all try to do that. I know that Leela Purushottam Prabhu does that. He has so many programs in his home. And I visited him some years ago, and there was a controversy, interesting controversy, if you don't mind me speaking some of your village Gramya Katha, Leela Purushottam Prabhu. But they had some wealthy devotees come in, and they were really special devotees. They were super devotees. And they decided, we're going to make a temple. Because this is a problem with this community. You guys, in a subtle way, perhaps are indicating you guys are all in Maya, and we should have a temple so we can have a regular morning program, Mangal Artik and deity worship and the whole thing. And so with great expense and trouble, they bought this old house and they renovated into a nice temple, and they got deities and did the whole thing. And then they were shocked to find that nobody wanted to help them in the community, and they became angry. Why don't you want to do this? You guys are all in Maya. You should do this. But they're demanding, and we can't, there's a lesson there. You can't demand that. Rather, we want to have something sweet. And that's why the devotees made that community, I think, a lot of them, because they wanted to get away from the temples. They wanted to have programs, but they wanted to do it on their terms in a sweet, unmotivated, spontaneous kind of way. And now somebody's coming in with that. Did that temple ever work, Leela Purushottam Prabhu?
No. They moved out, and it's sold to a Karmi man. The house is sold to now those programs are going at the devotees' houses, and it continues to be very sweet and intimate.
There's a nice example in this regard we can cite amongst the Amish. Amish are very interesting people, and if you know them, we used to do some book distribution. We met a lot of them in some parts of America, and they're kind of like Sudras, really. They're not real intelligent people. They're not very philosophical, but they're simple and they're pure. They're very, very nice people. And they had a conception in the Mennonite Amish tradition that as soon as you have a meeting house, everything is spoiled. You have a community, everybody has their homes, and now if we're gonna make a community, right, what's the first thing we want to do? Of course, we make a temple, right? A place for everybody to get together. But in their conception, that's the worst thing to do, because then everything becomes institutionalized. And instead, their system, they would have programs in different people's homes. They would have programs, I don't know how many, once a week or twice a week or whatever it was, but they would do it in different people's homes. And then they had a host, and they would feel obliged to cook something nice for all their friends, their guests. And it was very, very sweet and very, very personal. So as soon as you have a meeting house, everything becomes spoiled. Now, we have meeting houses, we have temples, and we do it not for us, but it's for the outside people. Because if you just had programs in your home, in the city, in Budapest or in Denver or in Ypsilanti or something, you didn't have a temple or anything, some people might come, you'll have something, but it's not going to be as positive. The temple is there so that you can engage the community in service. Temple is there so that we can preach. But that's not the same thing as community. And that's a lesson that Leela Purushottam Prabhu, the devotees have learned. It was a very beautiful lesson. Remember, Leela Ji, why don't you unmute yourself?
A little comment to it. It carries, in my eyes and experience, it carries one more important thing. That if you, it's not to say that the temples are bad, first of all. But if you avoid that situation and go with that frame that you're meeting at the different devotees' house, and then you very easily conquer that one of those Kanishta mentalities that God is only in that house. Only in that one house you can worship God, and anything else you do elsewhere can be devotional service and all this stuff, you know, like, which is commonly known as symptoms of Kanishta Adhikari. So then everyone is naturally inspired to appreciate others. Oh, now we meet at your house and we pay attention to your home deities. Now we meet at others' house. And yeah, it was quite interesting to see that in a connection with the Amish, because they still do. And the whole, I've seen some documents about them, and there is few mechanism that I was so attracted to. Like they,
Yes.
once a week, they have this function, and before, and they switch the place of the meeting every week. Some different family host the
host.
But what is the rule is that in the morning that day, all the ladies meet at the house, and they all together they do a complete cleaning of the house, like thorough cleaning of the house or the whole community. And then they prepare the meals together, and then after the function they have the meal together, and then it's quite like similar to
They help wash the dishes. Which is something a lot of times in Hare Krishna programs, you know, all the devotees just leave, and there's a whole huge amount of dishes and stuff there for the host, and it's like devotees don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, that's also one of the phenomena that I can observe here, how these simple mechanics progress actually by the years. Actually, it was used to be so here from the beginning, like someone was hosting the festival, and then at the end of the festival everyone said, "Oh, Haribol, thank you, Prabhu." And you ended up in a total mess and had the whole night of cleaning ahead of you. Probably, like for me it was a blissful cleaning anyway. But some
in a way, I think too, it's kind of you can see the difference between the liberals and the conservatives too. This is kind of a liberal attitude that, oh, wait, I can't ask them to wash the dishes and like that. Whereas the conservatives, they come from a background where everybody chips in, and it's okay to ask for that, and we should ask for that. And our communities, we should be a combination of both liberality and conservatism. Both are required. It's really important.
I can observe here that it came very naturally. Like there was occasions that some devotees like made some complaints. Oh, we were left all alone for the whole task. And then you could like, it stimulate the thinking, and next time you were more inspired to, okay, let me help you here. I will stay here with you, wash the dishes, clean the floor, anything. And now it is like, we practically don't organize. We just say, okay, Janmashtami is coming. We just make the arrangement that we let know each other what preps we want to bring in, because there is not that one man or one devotee is cooking the whole feast. So every family brings different preps, and then it is offered at the home where the festival is held. And yeah, so but it's with the least management. Actually, it goes so smooth.
So when you do your Janmashtami, you have a tent or something? You have a generally, or you don't do it in someone's house, or?
Of us now, so we still squeeze into our house actually.
Mhm. All right, thank you. That's really interesting.
Here-
Ujjwala
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
I want to say that the festivals here, we don't. It's not that the devotees from far around are coming. It's usually they have that the mentality that they should go to the temple, and we are like outsiders here.
You guys are in Maya.
Happy outsiders here. Okay, I'm happy I could share something.
Thank you very much. It was really good. Ujjwala Rasika, you finished? Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Nice comments. And you're finished also, Leela, huh? Okay.
Well, I had quite.
Okay. What did you share? Some short reflection.
I was
Since we
really
heard-
happy how Giriraj squeezed into a discussion. It was very, especially with this shloka, with the 10th shloka of this Govardhan Vaspratana Dashakam. I remember the first feeling, I first time read the translation, I was so amazed how Raghunath Das Goswami put it, that that this most merciful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave me to you, with no, that he got the Govardhan Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the Shila. You could very easily put it that, oh, you gave me Govardhan. You're so merciful, you gave me Govardhan. but he put it like, oh, you're so merciful that you gave me to Giriraj. So
Yeah.
I
So you can tell your parents, I belong to a rock. The rock doesn't belong to me, but I belong to the rock.
And in connection to that, I have one question. It was something that I heard recently. It was one of the last lectures of Amarendra Prabhu. And he mentioned there that devotees also worship Gauranga Mahaprabhu as a devotee.
Mhm.
He was like explaining, like you make some like differences, like you don't bring him the boga, but you bring him the Mahaprasad after offering it to Krishna and things like this. So I would like to hear because he did not elaborate on it much. He just made it as a point.
Yeah, I don't, as far as I know, there's no elaborate like puja padati or something describing, how to worship someone as a devotee, but there's certain general principles that we have. And sometimes devotees in ISKCON have problems with them because Srila Prabhupada in the beginning spoke things in a very simple way. And like with offering boga as an example, he said, you just say these three prayers, Namo Vishnu Padaya, and then Namo Mahavadhanaya, then Namo Brahmanya Devaya. And many devotees got the idea that I'm offering this boga to Gurudev, to Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada's offering it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering it to Krishna. But that's not the general system done by Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's not the system generally done in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Rather, we take permission from Gurudev to approach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this scenario, and then permission from Mahaprabhu to approach Radha Krishna. We offer the boga to Radha Krishna. Then we offer the prasadam to Mahaprabhu of Radha Krishna. And then we offer the Mahaprasad that was offered to Radha Krishna and Mahaprabhu to Prabhupada. Very nice. That's a very, very sweet thing, because the general principle is that we want to please that person. And so when the Lord, as Giriraj, who's Vishnu Tattva, he's Bhagavan, but he's in the mood of a devotee, or when the Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we please him more by treating them as a devotee. And there's particular ways that we do that, and to learn that, that's a subtle thing. We should be under the guidance of Guru. And as I said, there's no particular puja patti, I don't think, but we find different hints in the prayers of our Goswamis and the writings. And look about Giriraj, that's why we made this whole magazine. And also descriptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kaviraj Goswami describes that when the devotees would start worshiping him as Bhagavan and say, "You're Bhagavan," he put his fingers in his ears and go running away saying, "Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu." He didn't want to hear that. So it's not, just to give a little shout out for ISKCON Hungary again, by the way. They're one of the few yatras that I've seen in the world where the Gornitai are not worshipped with a peacock feather. They worship him as devotees. Srila Srivaram Maharaj has been very strong about that. So anyway, we should have some conception, and that comes from Guru, comes from Sadhu. Is that okay, Leela?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
One more thing, as you mentioned this, the difference between how the Gaura Lila is more merciful, then you used one sentence and then you did not elaborate on it. You elaborate on the whole concept, but you said that Gauranga is more merciful than Krishna because he's searching for Krishna. So I just don't have the clear connection there. Like what does it mean? Like what makes you more merciful, that you are like meaning to be on the same boat with us, or how is it?
This is a comment from my Guru Maharaj, and he's speaking about the mood of the gopis. And this, again, I've been speaking about this so much. This is the 47th chapter, the 10th canto, the Brahmara Gita. When the gopis are when there's union with Krishna, and then there's some competition. And Saibya or Bhadra, they may try to take Krishna to the camp of Chandravali, whereas Lalita and Vishaka, other gopis, they want to take Krishna to the camp of Radharani. And there's some competition, and sometimes even some negative feelings, apparently. Rupa Goswami and Ujjvala Nilamani says that if somebody thinks there's no anger and competition in the spiritual world, they've got it wrong. There certainly is, but it's not filled with hatred as it is in this world. It's a kind of ecstatic love, ultimately. But that's in union, in Milan. When there's separation, then their compassion becomes more and more intense. And when they see a gopi in an opposing camp, when Lalita Vishaka, they see Saibya or Bhadra, some other gopi, crying in separation from Krishna, they feel great compassion, and they want to go and embrace that gopi, and they want to somehow bring Krishna to that gopi. That's the nature of separation. Separation makes the heart even more merciful. So when Krishna comes in the mood of Mahaprabhu, looking for himself, looking for Krishna, that looking for Krishna means a mood of separation. And that indicates great mercy, great compassion. Is that okay?
Yes. So if one put it like in one sentence, that means that they share the same feelings of separation for Krishna, like with the conditioned living beings in the process.
And their compassion becomes more than, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can give compassion to us. Otherwise, he would just give compassion to all the Brahmins and high-class people, but we're really disgusting creatures. But somehow or other, he's just so merciful. And if he sees that we're trying, then he has so much kindness. Okay. Gornitai Prabhu, do you want to share anything tonight?
Yes, thank you very much for all this mood which we represent. It's one of my great experience that a few devotees have this mood of sharing because the same separation they feel. So you are also representing that. So I see that. Sorry to say it, but I have a question. Because you mentioned a few times that Lord Nityananda is in the same mood, and I accept it. And a few days ago, I meditated that my Guru Maharaj told that when we are chanting Hare Krishna, we focus on Radha Krishna, but when at the end of the round we are chanting Panchatattva, and that's changing our mood if need to change for mood of separation, mood of Vipralam, because they are all 5 in the mood of Vipralamba. And that helps a lot to really humble chant or rounds and properly approach the chanting, the Nam. So I'm asking 2 persons, I couldn't figure out how they could get this mood of separation. The Lord Nityananda, who is Balaram, how he could become in the feeling of the separation, except his God said he could do anything. And Advaita Acharya, can you say something? You do. I think you understand.
It's a very beautiful paradox, isn't it? We have this wonderful word in English, paradox, which is a good word for this right now. It's a paradox that God is feeling separation from himself because he's in the mood of Radharani. And although he's there, and this is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't stay in Vrindavan when he went to Vrindavan, because in Vrindavan it's a place of union. And when he went to Imli Tal, then his Gora complexion disappeared, and the Shamvarna, the blackish complexion came, and then he thought, now the next thing is a peacock feather will come, because that's the place where Krishna appears for that. So he had to go to a place which is separation. So that separation is the height of the ecstasy of Radharani. And again, that's the 47th chapter of the 10th canto, the Brahma Ragit, which we see in the 19th chapter of the Anchalila. It's kind of a mirror, almost, that Anchalila chapter and the 47th chapter of the Bhagavatam, 10th canto. So Radharani is feeling so much separation there at Uddhava Keri, when Uddhava comes. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are in. They're experiencing, but they can't experience that as Krishna and Balaram, because they're in the mood of.
So Lord Chaitanya have to do a lot of things. Many devotees helps him to become in this mood. Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Rai, but who helps Lord Nityananda?
Yes. So first of all, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna and Balaram, they're Vishai Vigraha. They're the worshipful objects. And the devotees are Ashraya Vigraha. They're the abode of that love. So for them to experience the limit of that separation, they also had to become the Ashraya. They had to become the devotees. Now, how Nityananda Prabhu is, that's a very interesting thing. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and some different acharyas in our line, it's a long subject which I've researched some. Ayendra Prabhu is really very much into this, that Nityananda Prabhu, he's also a combined form. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. He's a combined form of Radha and Krishna. And Nityananda Prabhu is a combined form of Balaram and Ananga Manjari, the youngest sister of Radharani. And so coming in that mood, then he's experiencing the mood of Ananga Manjari, that mood of separation after Krishna's left Vrindavan, and wanting in that mood to assist Radharani. Ananga Manjari is always wanting to assist Radharani. And so Nitai is always wanting to assist Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nitai is in the mood of Ananga Manjari, and Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha. Is that helpful?
Yeah. And Advaita Acharya?
Advaita Acharya is also a very interesting person. If we say that he's Sadashiva, that he's Mahavishnu, then a question comes to the mind. Okay, I can understand that you called this personality who's Yuga Dharma Palo, who's going to give the Yuga Dharma, that's Narayan, that's Vishnu. But how is it that he's calling, that Mahavishnu is calling, or Sadashiva is calling someone who's a combined form of Radha and Krishna? Now, without getting into it in depth, it's something I also did some research on. Advaita Acharya, according to the Advaita Parivar, the devotees in that line, and they have some evidences, I'd have to look through my notes for those verses, but they say that Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Gopishwar Mahadev. And Gopishwar Mahadev is considered to be Harihara. He's both Vishnu and Krishna. And in particular, he's Advaita Acharya, he's Mahavishnu, but he's also Gopishwar Mahadev. He's that particular form of Lord Shiva who brings together Radha and Krishna, brings together the gopis and assists. He's the guardian of the Ras Leela. So Advaita Acharya is doing that service, and he has a multi-leveled services it is, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does too. Some people see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna. Some people see him as Narayan, and he reciprocates accordingly. Some people see Nitai as Balaram, and he reciprocates accordingly. But very few people see Mahaprabhu as a devotee, or see him in the mood of Radha, or see Nityananda Prabhu in the mood of Ananga Manjari. Very few people see Advaita Acharya in the mood of Gopishwar Mahadev. One of the evidences for that I found when I spoke to the Mahant, whose name I forget, at Gopishwar Mahadev temple in Vrindavan, and we were doing some research for one of our magazines about Lord Shiva many years ago, and we translated a number of songs and prayers of Gopishwar Mahadev. And he told me that every year on Advaita Saptami, on the appearance day of Advaita Acharya, all the Mahants from the different main temples in Vrindavan, they all do Harinam and they all come to Gopishwar Mahadev because they all consider Advaita Acharya to be a manifestation of Gopishwar Mahadev.
Yeah,
Is
it
that
helps
okay?
a lot. It helps a lot. Can I have one more point?
Okay.
Sorry. So about this love in the temple or in the temple community, it's really amazing how it's how dynamic is. And I was 3 years out from this new Vrajadam, and I came back like I know everyone. It's a good lot of friends like that, and I'm amazed that practically no one loved me. Everyone trusted me, or at least everyone appreciated me, but no one loved me. So I have to consider that, okay, that's the situation, you have to work on it. So I worked step by step. First, everyone, politely accepting me. And then I started to work person by person. And then a few person you started to trust me because I behaved very consequently. And then from the few person, some of them, which with them I could speak really personally, really intimately. And then they started to love me. So I have to rebuild all my connections because I left 3 years. So that's very important.
That's why we do these Zoom programs once a week, because we want to keep in touch with you and Jai Gaur and Leela Purushottam and Brajabanita, and we want to keep some loving connection that's there. Otherwise, it's even more painful when you come back. They express affection for you, but the reason why they express affection sometimes is because they want you to do something.
Yeah.
And they know if they put their arm around you and they say some sweet words, then you can be exploited by them, and that hurts even worse, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's it.
So
Thank you.
Yeah. So we should always be trying to create small groups of genuine, loving, affectionate devotees. And the devotees in Ypsilanti, Reed and Jai Gaur connect. You guys are very fortunate, because the whole structure has been focused around that, about affection and personal connections.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
Thank
go
you.
on. Hey, Govinda Vallabha, are you alive and well? Do you want to make some comment? Wow, there she is. Do you have anything that you won tonight you want to share with us? Any prizes?
Oh, that was a wonderful class. I'm so happy I joined. This like my favorite bhajan, Garanga Karuna Koro. I was surprised to hear that you said that maybe it's not Panarottam Das Thakur and maybe it was someone following his mood. I was like surprised. And yeah, I'm so happy. I'm listening to everything. Wonderful realizations.
We're really
Congratulations.
happy you took part. It's really good. We feel like we're back in Mayapur again. We're here with Sahadev Prabhu tonight.
Oh, no way.
I can't. Yeah, he's just sitting here very
Nice.
quietly. I'm feeling terrible. I'm sitting in front of Sahadev. He's a very qualified senior person, and I'm speaking in front of him. I'm going to hit by a bolt of lightning or something when I go outside next. It's dangerous. We're just waiting for you guys to come down also. Anapayani's
Yeah.
coming in a couple of days.
Yeah, we should. Oh my God. Okay, we'll think about it.
All right. Just let us know ahead of time. We have a room for you guys. All right.
No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Govinda Vallabha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
And what about Bhakta Reed? You want to share something with us? Did you win a prize tonight?
Yeah, I was appreciating the discussion that was started by Leela Purushottam Prabhu. and especially about how Gaura Lila is more merciful than Krishna Lila. Getting the points clarified on that, and also the point I got is that our qualification or ticket to get onto the boat to cross the ocean of birth and death is to become Dasaranga Das, to become the servant of the servant. It's important.
Yeah, it's so important. That's why we take care of the cows. And one sadhu I remember in Vrindavan, he once told me, a senior devotee, he told me, he said, I know a lot of sadhus in Vrindavan, but I don't like to do sadhu seva so much because you don't know how pure that sadhu is or what they're doing secretly behind their back. But cows are simple. Cows are straightforward. Cows are not duplicitous. So I like to worship cows. And if we worship the cows, then we can also please the devotees. We should have that attitude, not just that I'm serving the cows in a separate way, but I'm doing it because the devotees will be very pleased. Then it's a very, very sweet thing. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. And let's see, how about Natalia? Do you have anything you want to share tonight?
Hare
Nice
Krishna.
to see you. Hare Krishna. You're indoors today.
Yes, I'm in Estonia, back. Two
Oh,
things.
did you, just a real quick question, did you get to see Sachinanda Maharaj in Germany?
No, he got a positive test, COVID test, and he could not
Oh my
fly.
gosh.
But he is okay.
Oh,
He is okay. He feels good.
uh-huh.
So
Very difficult time right now for traveling.
he did not come. But I'm going to Berlin Radhayatra.
Good.
Okay, two things touched me somehow.
Okay.
The most bright for me. The first thing in this song, this I have never realized that this words Kripa Kore Shamar Hridaya Mandire. It is so simple that the devotee is asking to be very, very close to beloved Lord. And now, as you said it, I don't know, it is so simple, but somehow I lost it. I missed it. And it sounded so, I don't know, I was really touched by it. And another thing about this plagiarism that in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it doesn't exist somehow, that it is otherwise that to follow a mood of a pure Vaishnava is the best way.
I make a couple of comments on that. It does exist sometimes. There are some, for example, there's some books that are said to be by Vrindavan Das Thakur, like there's a book called Nityananda Charitamrita, which 100% for sure was not written by Vrindavan Das Thakur. But that book, again, it was a similar kind of mood. The author wanted to give credit to Vrindavan Das Thakur because he loved Vrindavan Das Thakur and things. But there's a problem with that. And the problem there is that, first of all, the author was in the Nityananda Vamsa, and he had this purpose in writing that to support the Nityananda Vamsa claims, their seminal claims of connection with Nityananda Prabhu through a family lineage. And the second thing is that if somebody quotes that book to some scholar or someone say, yes, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, it makes us look foolish. So in one sense, it's not a bad book, and it was sponsored, it was inspired by Nityananda, by Vrindavan Das Thakur, but we want to make some distinction. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he sometimes spoke like that. If you read in Bengali, his introduction to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he gives a list of spurious books, one of which is Advaita Prakash, which he says is not a bona fide book, and a few other books. And that's kind of a complicated thing. I'm a person who likes literature. It's not just that we can, even because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that, it means that the whole book is bad. Some parts of the book are true and they're nice, and there may be some sweet verses in the book. We can take some good things from it, just like we can take good things from a bad person. But we should be careful advertising that book as being, by Ishan Thakur or whatever like that. Okay? Thank you very much, Natalia. Hare Krishna. What's the weather there like now in Estonia? It's very hot?
No, it is 2 hours sunny, 2 hours rainy, 2 hours sunny, 2 hours rainy, like that.
Yeah, it's like Lithuania.
No, Lithuania.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. And we'll save the best for last. I don't know if he's the best or not. Jaigor, do you have any reflections or comments? There he is.
I also don't know if he's
Is
the
Bono
best
there
or not.
tonight? Or
She's not with us right now. Can you hear me?
okay. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
What'd you win tonight? Any reflections? And maybe Sahadev Prabhu, if he has anything at the end, want to share anything. But Jaguar, go ahead.
A lot of stuff I really liked was touched on by other devotees, but I liked
Jaguar,
how there was a little bit.
you want to share something?
Can you
Did
hear
our
me?
connection just drop?
Is it me?
Our connection's getting funky.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Oh. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. You can hear both clearly, huh? Reed? I can hear now. I can hear this connection, not yours. You're on the American side. I'm on the Indian side. You want to say that again?
I said Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you, but I didn't hear your reflection.
Oh, I was saying that I really appreciated how there was some discussion about, Mahaprabhu's Krishna, but he's primarily a devotee, and devotees worshiping him as a devotee is really sweet. A lot of stuff I really liked was touched on. Now, one thing I was thinking about is that I was, during the class, kind of inspired to think a little bit more about the concept of Nam being more merciful than Nami. And I was kind of wondering, I mean, you've spoken about that a lot, but I was kind of revisiting it, kind of thinking, I wonder why is it that Nam is more merciful than Nami? And what you were talking about, we can understand that Mahaprabhu is more merciful than Krishna. That's easy, right? And we can understand that maybe Mahamantra is more merciful, and because it has Radharani's name in it. But I was thinking about, like, why would Krishna's, specifically his name only, be more merciful than himself? You were talking about the reason that the Mahaprabhu's mercy is so available is that you're talking about the Icha Shakti and the Karuna Shakti, and that Radharani is the Karuna Shakti, that Shakti to give mercy. And so is there something, well, what else is there in the name?
Well, when we speak about the name and its Mahamantra, there's two conceptions. One is it's the name of Krishna that's there. And the second is it's a conception of Srimati Radharani what's in this name. And therefore, this name is more merciful. Fakir Mahaprabhu gave some good examples about this before. Which is more merciful, Krishna or his name? You can chant the name, and Krishna appears in the form of the name. But we don't see Krishna coming to us personally. Now, who's more merciful, the deity of Krishna or Krishna's name? If you're laying in bed and you're very sick and you're passing stool and urine and things in the bed, you can't worship the deity. You can't touch the deity, but the holy name can come to you. So the holy name is so very, very merciful. There's no rules and regulations about cleanliness. It's more merciful than Krishna. Krishna may or may not appear to us. Generally, very rarely appears before someone, but Krishna appears before everyone in the form of the name. So for those reasons. I forgot about Brajabanita. I feel terrible. Brajabanita, do you want to, is that okay, Jaguar?
Yeah, Prabhu, I like how you said it's the conception of Radharani. that's helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Gurmai speaks about that in Embankment of Separation. Brajabanita, do you want to make any comments? You have any reflections you want to share?
I don't really want to spend your time. You're talking so long time, so I
Yeah,
really
it's a long time.
I feel sorry. I feel sorry. So maybe not. Maybe next time. So I just
Okay.
want to be free.
Anyway, it's just nice to hear your voice. We're very happy. We could see your face. It'd be better when we see your cats. Oh, but you're not. The cats aren't with you.
No,
You
cats not
betrayed
with
them.
me. No.
They're going to be
They
really angry with you when
they
you get
are.
back. They're going to be angry with you.
They are. They are.
You
So
have some
sorry. I
friend
don't
taking care of them or something.
Yeah, some friend of mine. Yes, I'm neighbor.
Where I know you're in Megalinovka now. Where are you
Yeah, I
at?
can show you. I can show you. I can show you.
Are
Just
you
a
in the
second.
office or are you in
No, you
one of the
see where I
cabins?
am? You see now where I am?
Yeah. Nice to see you there.
So I'm here.
You're on. Yeah.
I'm in my
Okay, good.
small. Yeah. So
It's
I'm
good. The connection's working or something.
It's just
All
by
right. Please
mistake.
offer my pranams to Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. I wish we could be
If I
there.
will
It's the
have a
first year.
chance, if I will have a chance, I will.
Yeah, not easy, I know. Okay,
No.
thank you, Brajabani. Sadi, do you have
Thank you. I'm
anything?
sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, Sahadev Prabhu is here with us. Let me hold the mic over here. I can't turn the computer a little hard.
Yeah, it's okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's. Madhavananda asked me to speak something, so I just want to say that Madhavananda Prabhu, he's initiated by Pure Vaishnava Gogavinda Maharaj, and he's got Gogavinda Maharaj's mercy, and he's compassionately giving that to everyone else. So I just want to thank Madhavananda Prabhu for giving such wonderful Harikatha. And I'll leave it there. Hare Krishna.
It's our great blessing that Sahadev Prabhu is here from Mayapur. We met Sahadev Prabhu at the Sunday Feast program, in the Russian Sunday Feast program. It wasn't an official program. That's what was sweet about it, wasn't it? It was just some Grihastha devotees who put something together, and it was really, really nice. And we met Sahadev Prabhu there, and then we started doing some programs together sometimes, and now he's blessing us and coming and staying in our house. It's a wonderful thing for us. Today we went to Tota Gopinath, and Prabhuji went to Jagannath Mandir. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stop there. As Brajabanita pointed out, it's really late. And if anybody's interested, Krishna Kun made some comment. She said, Radharani is manifested compassionate nature of Krishna. Always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. That's her reflection she walked away with today. Okay, so if anybody's online tomorrow, Indian time, I can't figure out everybody else's time, but Indian time from 2 o'clock to about 3, we'll have a class about Guru Tattva. Disciple will be continue speaking about the Uttam Sishya, the topmost disciples. That'll be for the IYF group tomorrow. And then in the evening, I'm doing something for the GBC SPT, which is really austere because there's hardly anybody who takes part in that. That's about this time, I think. Let me check my calendar for the time exactly. But I think
Please, if you can share the link for this.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put it in our. It's
in our group. Thank you.
So it's 7:30 to 8:30. So it would be starting. It would be finishing in about 20 minutes, and it would have started about 45 minutes ago. Tomorrow night, and that's going to be a katha about Raghunandan Thakur for his Parents' Day, I believe it is. So if anybody wants to take part in that, it would be helpful for me. We need some reflections and comments there, because that program is not very many people take part in it. Anyway, thank you all very much. It's really nice to see Govinda Vallabha here tonight, and Brajabanita and all the different devotees. Hare Krishna.
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
ki jai, Samaveda
Jai.
Bhakta Binda ki jai, Vancha
Jai.
Kalpatarubhishcha, Kripa
Kripa
Sindhu
Sindhu
Bheva
Deva.
Cha